StoryShots is proud to bring you this free audiobook summary. Do you want to get access to more free audiobook summaries like this? Subscribe and click the bell button now to get notified each time we upload a new summary. You can also download our free app and enjoy thousands of other summaries of best-selling nonfiction books that are available in text, audio, and animated formats. StoryShots has been featured by Apple, Google, and The Guardian as one of the world's best reading and learning apps. Go to getstoryshots.com and download the app today. Happy learning.
Okay, so get this. Only 12.2% of American adults are considered metabolically healthy.
Wow.
That's barely 1 in 10.
Right.
We're diving into Dr. Casey Means' book, Good Energy, to really unpack why that statistic is so alarming and what we can do about it. You've got summaries, visuals, even FAQs. So get ready to unlock some serious energy and health insights.
What I think is so fascinating about metabolic health is that it really is about way more than just the number on the scale.
Okay.
You know, it's really about how efficiently your cells are creating energy.
Interesting.
Which impacts everything from how you feel day to day to your risk of chronic diseases down the road. So
it really makes you wonder why we don't hear more about this.
Right.
Dr. Means actually has a really personal connection to this topic, right? She lost her mom to a metabolic disease, and it ignited this passion in her to help people understand this crucial aspect of their health.
Yeah, and that passion really comes through in her writing, I think. She doesn't shy away from the science at all, but she explains it in a way that I think really clicks. It's like she's having a conversation with you, breaking down these, complex topics into these manageable bites.
Yes, and one of those aha moments for me was her explanation of naked carbohydrates, which sounds kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a really powerful way to visualize how certain foods mess with our energy levels.
It's brilliant.
Right.
I mean, think of it this way. Imagine eating carbs with no fiber, protein, or healthy fats. Things like white bread, sugary drinks, processed snacks. They hit your bloodstream fast. They spike your blood sugar.
Yeah.
You get that initial rush, but then comes the crash.
Oh, right.
That's the naked carbohydrate effect in action.
Oh, tell me about it. That afternoon slump where you can barely keep your eyes open, even if you thought you had a decent lunch.
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about here?
Exactly. It's like riding a blood sugar roller coaster. And those highs and lows, they don't just impact your energy over time. They can increase your risk for some serious health problems. We're talking heart disease, type 2 diabetes, even some cancers.
Okay, that definitely makes me want to get off that roller coaster.
Right.
So it's not as simple as just ditching carbs altogether.
Right.
I mean, our bodies need those for fuel.
Yeah, you're right. It's about making smarter choices and understanding how to pair those carbs for more stable blood sugar. For example, Dr. Means talks about this technique called meal sequencing.
Meal sequencing?
Yeah.
Now that sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's actually quite simple. Let's say you're having pasta for dinner.
Okay.
Instead of diving straight into that big bowl of noodles, you start with a salad or some grilled chicken.
Okay.
This helps slow down the absorption of carbohydrates from the pasta, preventing that dreaded blood sugar spike.
So you're basically creating a buffer with protein or fiber, like building a little speed bump for those carbs to go over.
You got it. Another surprising trick Dr. Means mentions is consuming vinegar before or with meals.
Vinegar, like the stuff I use for salad dressings.
The very same. As strange as it might sound, studies show that vinegar can actually help slow down glucose absorption, preventing those sharp blood sugar spikes.
Interesting.
You can add it to salad dressings, drizzle it over roasted veggies, or even just mix a tablespoon with water and drink it before your meal.
Wow, I'm already rethinking my lunch break routine. It's amazing how these small tweaks can make such a difference. Now it seems like Dr. Means' approach goes way beyond just what's on our plate.
Yeah.
It's a much more holistic view, isn't it?
Absolutely. In her book, she talks about this holistic framework for metabolic health. And she has this really cool visual where she shows all of these different health foundations, all interconnected with the person at the center.
Okay. So it's not just about swapping out my afternoon soda for a green smoothie. There's more to the story.
Way more. Dr. Means dives into these different foundations. Nutrition, movement, sleep, stress management, our environment, social connections, and even our sense of purpose. She argues that, like, neglecting any one of these areas can create this ripple effect, impacting our overall well-being.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is.
Right.
It's like trying to solve a problem by only focusing on one symptom instead of, like, addressing the root cause.
Totally.
If all these other areas of our lives are out of whack, it's going to show up in our metabolic health too.
Exactly. And she brings this to life with all these stories of her patients too. For example, there's one about a patient who's struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome who had tried every medication and supplement imaginable. And it wasn't until they started addressing multiple aspects of their life, from their diet and sleep to their stress levels and sense of purpose, that they finally experienced a breakthrough.
That's remarkable. It really shows how powerful this holistic approach can be. Speaking of sleep, that's one area I'm definitely trying to improve.
Yeah.
It always feels like there's not enough time.
You and me both.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something that really struck me from the book. Dr. Means talks about this study that found even 1 week of poor sleep can alter the expression of over 700 genes.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
700 genes?
Yeah.
What are those genes even doing?
We're talking about genes involved in everything from your metabolism and immune function to your stress response and even your emotional regulation.
Wow.
It's no wonder we feel so off when we're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Our entire system gets thrown out of whack.
Okay, that's both terrifying and motivating. 700 genes is a real wake-up call. So what did Dr. Means do to improve her own sleep? Because she mentioned struggling with insomnia back in medical school.
Oh, yeah. She was burning the candle at both ends, that's for sure. She had to make some serious changes. One of the biggest things was prioritizing sleep hygiene.
Okay.
Sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, making sure her bedroom was dark, cool, and quiet. It wasn't until she started treating sleep like a non-negotiable that she began experiencing those truly restorative benefits.
That's really relatable, especially in today's fast-paced world. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and put sleep on the back burner. It's a good reminder that we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to prioritize our well-being if we want to, show up as our best selves.
Absolutely. And one thing that resonated with me, and I think will probably resonate with a lot of your listeners too, is her discussion of social jet lag. Have you heard of that term before?
I have a feeling I know exactly what you're talking about. Is it that thing where you stay up late on weekends scrolling through your phone and then feel completely wrecked when Monday rolls around, you've traveled across multiple time zones even though you haven't left your house?
You nailed it. It's that disconnect between our internal body clock, our circadian rhythm, and our social calendars. And it turns out that chronic social jet lag can wreak havoc on our metabolic health.
So what's the solution? Do we all need to transform into early birds and stick to a rigid sleep schedule, even on weekends?
You know, it's less about becoming a slave to the clock and more about becoming more in tune with our natural rhythms. Small adjustments like getting some sunlight first thing in the morning and dimming the lights in the evening can help regulate your circadian rhythm, leading to better sleep quality.
I'm already starting to see a theme here. Small changes, big impact.
Exactly. It's not about overhauling your whole life overnight. It's about those small, sustainable changes you can stick with. Speaking of which, let's move on to another key pillar of metabolic health movement.
All right, let's talk about moving our bodies.
You know, it's funny how we often think of exercise as this chore, something we have to do, not something we enjoy.
Oh.
But, in the book, Dr. Means talks about how she learned to love movement, even though she wasn't always into it.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking maybe it's about finding what works for you, not some rigid idea of what exercise should be.
Totally. Ditch the exercise mold and find what feels good, right? But where do we even start?
Yeah.
What are some practical strategies we can use to bring more movement into our lives?
Well, Dr. Means covers a whole range of options in Good Energy, which I really appreciate.
Okay.
For those who thrive on intensity and are short on time, she talks about high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, as the cool kids call it. Short bursts of effort followed by quick recoveries.
Yeah.
It's amazing for boosting cardiovascular fitness in a short amount of time.
I've heard that about HIT, but I'll be honest, the intense effort part makes me want to reach for a nap instead.
I hear you. But you can adjust the intensity to match your fitness level. Plus, those bursts of effort are super short. Now, for those looking to build strength and improve insulin sensitivity, she highlights resistance training.
Okay.
Think lifting weights, using resistance bands, even body weight exercises.
Good to know. I've definitely been slacking on the strength training. So we've got our high-intensity workouts or strength training. What about those of us who prefer things a little more low impact?
Dr. Means has got us covered. She talks about the benefits of yoga, Pilates, swimming, even just walking.
Right.
They're gentler on the joints, but still pack a punch when it comes to metabolic health, stress reduction, and just feeling good.
And never underestimate the power of a good walk, right? It's my go-to for clearing my head and getting my body moving.
And it turns out, even just one workout can have a significant impact.
Yeah.
Dr. Means cites a study that found a single workout can improve glucose uptake in our muscle cells for up to 48 hours.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah.
So even if I can't make it to the gym every day, that one workout is still doing some good. That's really encouraging.
Exactly. And it gets even better with what Dr. Means calls exercise snacks.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Exercise snacks.
Yeah.
Does this involve actual snacks?
Uh-huh.
Because if so, sign me up.
Not quite. But I like the way you think.
Okay.
It's actually the idea of incorporating short bursts of activity throughout your day. Instead of sitting for hours on end, set a timer to get up and do a few squats or lunges every hour. Walk during phone calls. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Those little bits of movement really add up.
I love that. Sneaking in those healthy habits without, complete schedule overhaul.
Yeah.
Small changes, big impact.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that movement doesn't have to be this big formal thing. It can be woven into our everyday lives.
Exactly. And speaking of finding those small moments for self-care, let's talk about stress.
Okay.
As Dr. Means points out, stress can really do a number on our metabolic health.
Okay. Stress. We all know chronic stress is bad for us. But what's the connection to our metabolic health? What's going on in our bodies when we're stressed out?
So when we're stressed, our bodies kick into that, fight or flight mode, releasing a surge of hormones, including cortisol, our trusty stress hormone, or, not so trusty stress hormone, depending on the situation.
Right.
A little cortisol is a good thing. It helps us wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
But chronic stress keeps those cortisol levels elevated, and that's where the trouble starts.
So basically, too much cortisol for too long is like putting our metabolic systems on high alert 24/7.
Yes.
No wonder it wreaks havoc.
You got it. Chronically elevated cortisol can interfere with blood sugar regulation, increase insulin resistance, even lead to increased fat storage, particularly in the abdominal area.
Okay, that makes sense. But it can feel so hard to actually do something about stress.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
You're preaching to the choir. But Dr. Means offers some really great practical strategies in good energy that go beyond just take a bubble bath.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, bubble baths are great. But sometimes we need more to combat that, deeply ingrained stress.
So what's in her stress-busting toolkit? What are some ways to, dial down that stress response?
She's a big advocate for mindfulness meditation and deep breathing exercises.
And these have been proven to have a real, physiological effect.
Yeah.
This isn't just some, new agey thing.
Absolutely not. There's tons of research showing that even a few minutes of mindfulness can lower cortisol levels, reduce blood pressure, and improve sleep quality.
Sign me up for anything that leads to better sleep.
Right. And Dr. Means also emphasizes finding joyful movement. Whether it's a walk in nature, hitting the gym, or even just, dancing around your living room, it's not just about the physical benefits, but how good it makes you feel.
So movement is a 2-for-1 deal.
There you go.
Good for the body and a stress reliever.
Exactly. Just as important is prioritizing downtime and relaxation. That could be a long bath, a good book, quality time with loved ones, anything that helps you disconnect and recharge.
I think it's so easy to let those things slide where we're constantly bombarded with messages to, be more productive, to hustle harder. But it's like you were saying earlier, we can't pour from an empty cup.
It's true. And neglecting those things often leads to burnout, which works against our goals anyway. Dr. Means also talks about something that I thought was really interesting, the importance of social connection and support systems.
Huh?
Did you know that having strong relationships can actually positively impact our health?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Hanging out with friends is actually good for my health.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's pretty incredible. Studies have shown that strong social connections are linked to lower blood pressure, reduced stress, even increased longevity, and a stronger immune system. Makes sense when you think about it. We're social creatures. We crave that connection.
And I imagine it's even more important during times of, high stress.
Total.
Having a good support system to lean on must make a world of difference.
Absolutely. On the flip side, loneliness and social isolation can actually be detrimental to our health.
Oh, wow.
So nurture those relationships, folks. They're good for your health.
I love that. It's so fascinating how, like, interconnected everything is.
Right.
It's not just about what we're eating or how much we're exercising.
Right.
It's about the quality of our relationships, our stress levels, our sleep.
Yeah.
It all plays a role.
Speaking of which, ready to dive into the world of nutrition.
All right, let's talk food. I always feel like there's so much like conflicting nutrition advice out there.
Yeah.
1 minute, something's good for you. The next minute, it's public enemy number one.
Right.
How does Dr. Means approach nutrition and good energy?
Well, she really emphasizes a whole foods, nutrient-dense diet.
Okay.
Which, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
She's not promoting a specific restrictive diet, but rather focusing on real food that nourishes your body. In fact, there's a really helpful visual in the book. It's a food pyramid that breaks down her key principles.
A food pyramid.
Yeah.
Now that takes me back.
I know, right?
What's at the base of the good energy pyramid?
Low glycemic foods. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with blood sugar control. It's about choosing carbs that break down slowly and don't spike your blood sugar.
So we're talking about veggies, fruits, legumes, whole grains, all that, like good stuff.
You got it. Moving up the pyramid, we have those colorful fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Bursting with antioxidants and nutrients that protect our cells from damage.
The more color on my plate, the better.
Exactly. Then we've got high-quality protein sources, crucial for building and repairing tissues, supporting a healthy immune system, and keeping us feeling full and satisfied.
So incorporating like lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, tofu.
Yeah.
All those good sources of protein.
You're on a roll.
Okay.
And don't forget about healthy fats.
Right.
They often get demonized, but they're essential for hormone production, cell function, and keeping us satisfied after meals.
So not all fats are created equal. Which ones should we be eating more of?
We're talking about avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and sardines. These foods are rich in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, including those omega-3 fatty acids, which have anti-inflammatory properties.
Got it. The good fats.
Yes.
And at the very top of the pyramid, we have fiber-rich foods.
Yes.
I feel like fiber doesn't always get the attention it deserves.
It's the unsung hero of the nutrition world. Fiber is essential for regulating digestion, promoting gut health, keeping us full, and as we talked about earlier, stabilizing blood sugar levels.
It's amazing how much of this, like, comes back to blood sugar.
I know, right?
It really is the foundation of metabolic health. So essentially, Dr. Means' approach is about focusing on real, whole foods.
Yes.
And ditching the processed junk.
Right.
But she takes it a step further by talking about how our environment can impact our metabolic health.
Yes.
It's not just about what we're putting into our bodies. It's also about what's around us, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's easy to forget about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the products we use daily. They all contain things that can impact our metabolic processes and overall well-being.
It's a lot to think about, right? It's like it's exciting, but I can see how it could be overwhelming. Where do we even begin to make sense of it all?
Yeah, and I think that's where working with a knowledgeable healthcare professional comes in. Dr. Means emphasizes this throughout the book. These tools are powerful, but they're most effective when used in conjunction with expert guidance.
So it's not about like self-diagnosing or replacing our doctors with all this tech. It's more about like using these tools to have like more informed conversations and make decisions with our healthcare providers.
Absolutely. It's about taking an active role in our health, but not going it alone. Now, we've covered a ton of ground today, from those alarming statistics about metabolic health to practical strategies for eating, moving, sleeping, managing stress, and even optimizing our environment and mindset. It's been quite the journey through good energy.
It really has. We've gone from the cellular level all the way to the big picture of how our lives and our environments impact our well-being. It's pretty amazing how interconnected it all is.
It really is, and I think that's what I love most about Dr. Means' approach. She really connects those dots between these different aspects of our lives and shows how they all contribute to our metabolic health and overall well-being.
It's like she's saying, hey, Your health isn't just about this one thing you're doing or not doing. It's about the quality of your sleep, your stress levels, the relationships you nurture, the environment you create for yourself, and even the thoughts you allow to take up space in your mind.
Yes, perfectly put. It's this holistic approach that truly empowers us to take the reins of our health in a meaningful way.
And that's what I find so inspiring about this book, It's not about blame or shame. It's about understanding how our bodies work and making informed choices that support our well-being. It feels empowering, not overwhelming.
I couldn't agree more. Dr. Means really reminds us that we have more agency than we think. We're not just victims of our genes or our circumstances. We have the power to make changes that can have a ripple effect on our health and our lives.
It's a hopeful message, for sure, especially these days when it feels like we're constantly bombarded with negativity and fear-mongering around health. Dr. Means offers a refreshing perspective, one focused on possibility, resilience, and our incredible capacity to heal and thrive.
I love that you picked up on that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what are some things that have stood out to you from Good Energy? What are some actionable steps you're thinking about incorporating into your own life?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm really energized by the idea that small changes can make a big difference. I'm thinking about trying that vinegar trick with my meals.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm definitely going to be more mindful about those exercise snacks throughout the day.
Yeah.
And honestly, that whole social jet lag discussion was a huge wake-up call.
It's amazing how those small shifts, those seemingly insignificant tweaks to our routine can have such a significant impact on our health and well-being. Mm-hmm. It's about those tiny hinges that swing big doors. What about you? What advice would you give to our listeners who are ready to start implementing some of these principles?
I love that tiny hinges, big doors. I think the first step is simply becoming more aware. Dr. Means talks a lot about tuning into our body's signals. How are you feeling? What's your energy like? How's your digestion? How are you sleeping? We often get so caught up in the busyness of life that we forget to listen to what our bodies are telling us.
So true. It's about slowing down, tuning in, and starting to notice those subtle cues. And once we're paying attention, we can start experimenting with small changes, incorporating more whole foods, prioritizing sleep, finding joyful movement, and carving out time for those stress reduction techniques. It doesn't have to be a huge overhaul, just a few small tweaks to start.
Exactly. And it's about remembering we don't have to do this alone. Dr. Means emphasizes finding support, whether it's a healthcare professional, a health coach, a therapist, a supportive friend, or a community. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and lift you up.
Yes. And above all, remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about discovering what feels right for you, honoring your individuality, and creating a lifestyle that feels aligned with your values and supports your well-being.
What a great reminder. Experiment, explore, and discover what good energy means for you. And if you're looking for a guide on this journey, definitely check out Dr. Casey Means' book. It's full of wisdom, practical strategies, and a whole lot of hope, something we can all use a little more of these days.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll leave you to continue your deep dive into this fascinating world of metabolic health.
Until next time, take care and keep exploring.
Did you like this audiobook summary? Click the like button now to support our channel. If you don't want to miss out on new free audiobook summaries, subscribe and click the bell button. You can also download our free app and enjoy thousands of other summaries of best-selling nonfiction books that are available in text, audio, and animated formats. StoryShots has been featured by Apple, Google, and The Guardian as one of the world's best reading and learning apps. Go to getstoryshots.com and download the app today.